The year was 1969, the 30th day of September, in a small country town of Umuahia, Nigeria in West Africa. War had broken out between the Muslim North and the Christian East, known as Biafra. A young woman lay weak on the hospital theater table after delivering her first baby boy by a C-sec. She had been abandoned by doctors and other hospital staff fleeing from the attack of jet fighters, pounding the hospital with bombs and bullets, with bits of glass, steel and pallets flying from exploding bombs all around her, and bullets zipping across the room in all directions. This young woman, clutching her still open stomach, rolled off the surgical table, inching slowly and bent over. She made her way to her baby boy, and with the other hand, she pulled him to the floor underneath her, shielding her with her body from all the hell that had broken loose around them. Because of this brave woman's effort and her action, this little boy grew into a man and is today standing in front of you and speaking to you. Yes, my people, how you guys doing? Today is a very special day for me, and you will come to find out very soon. My name is Dr. Chidi Cadet Mayan. Now, a lot of you wonder why in the middle of my name you see Cadet. A lot of people think that it is a guy name. Some people think it's a nickname, but it's really not any of those. My real name is Cadet, and I got that name. My father gave me that name because of the Biafran Nigerian Civil War and the role that he played in that war. You see, my father was conscripted into the Biafran army, and he was supposed to be sent to the war front. Of course, you guys know I was born in 1969, as was revealed in that other video before I started talking. But I just wanted to give you a little background. At that time, my father was supposed to go to war, and he was supposed to be, conscripted as a cadet. Of course, cadet is like someone in training, okay? And it was a man that I don't remember the story very well, but one man prevented him from being sent to that cadet training, and after which he would have become a member of the Biafran army. And because he was not drafted into the Biafran army, he survived that war. And he told me that everybody who was in that platoon or in that group, those young men that he would have gone to that training with, all the people in that battalion died in that war. And so when he had, of course, when my mother had me, he named me Cadet. So you see, the Biafran War, and of course from the story that you heard about when I was born, and how my mother still had her stomach open, and how she protected me from you know, the the attack in the hospital, you will see that Biafra means so much to me. And I've seen countless times a lot of people, you know, throw things at me, throw words at me. They try to act like they are more Biafran than any other person. You just laugh at those people because you know they don't know. And then some people get confused with me. They say, Chidi, where do you really stand? What today we see you talking about Biafra, tomorrow we see you talking about Nigeria, and then you're you're solidly behind um, the the activities of the Revolution Now movement. Well, that's not really what I'm here to talk about today. Today I'm here to let everybody who cares to know that 50 years after the Biafran War, those things, those situations, those circumstances that led to the unfortunate civil war that was fought in Nigeria between uh, the Nigerian armed forces and the Biafran armed forces, those things still exist within the country Nigeria as I speak to you. There's still marginalization, there's still injustice, there's still uneven distribution of our commonwealth. And so it is important that as we mark 50 years of that civil war, that we remember those that died fighting that war. A lot of mistakes were made. This is not a time to apportion blames, but this is a time to make sure that those injustices, those ill treatments that were fought against in that war, they are not allowed to continue. And that is why you see someone like me unapologetic about my membership of the Revolution Now movement. That's why you see somebody like me unapologetic about my activities with the Take It Back movement. Because I strongly believe that if things were okay in Nigeria, there wouldn't be any need for the resurfacing of the Biafran agitation. Because after the war, remember there was the Abori Accord. Now, had the Nigerian government abided by the conditions stated in that Abori Accord, there wouldn't be any need for someone like Nnamdi Kanu to still continue with the agitation for a Biafran state. So what am I saying? I'm saying that the fact that the Nigerian government from years ago, and I'm still waiting for them to reverse this decision, had decided that it was best to not teach history in Nigerian schools and replace it with, I think, social studies, that is absolutely wrong. Okay? The only way you can begin to grow is by addressing your history, confronting it, and learning from the mistakes of the past so that you don't make the same mistakes in the future. I can assure you that the reason why Nigeria is sliding at an alarming rate, we are sliding, is because we thought that sweeping our history under the bed or under the table was going to save us, but that is not true. And so it is important that we remind ourselves of our history. It is very uncomfortable, very, very uncomfortable. But you see, when you understand, it's like you telling the Black America from February, the month of February is Black History Month in North America. And my foundation, my Roots Foundation, we have a lot of activities that we get involved in. And we teach people about Black history. We teach people about African history. We teach them to appreciate that Africa is not a country but a continent. We expose them to our culture, to our foods, to our dances, to so many things about us. And nobody in America, nobody in North America, nobody in Canada says you must not talk about this. We talk about slavery, we talk about the experiences that we had. And everybody sits down and they listen and they teach their children. And they tell their children, don't ever do this. May we never go through this path anymore. But in my own country, Nigeria, we decide to be, ostrich, and we decide to bury our head in the sand, and we decide to wish our history away. That is why people will get up and they will make inflammatory statements that is akin to what started the civil war that was fought between 1969 and 1971. Had they known our history, had they been taught our history through these 50 years, they would have known that some things you don't do. I believe that the government of Nigeria has forgotten our history, and it is because they do not take our history serious that will make them choose the path they decide to choose in political appointments, in the appointment of security chiefs in Nigeria. And every tribe in Nigeria seems to be guilty of this same thing. But it is because we have decided to ignore our history. So it is important that as we celebrate 50 years after the Biafran Nigerian Civil War, that we pause and we ponder and we realize that some of us have not forgotten that even though someone like me was born right in the middle of the war, that stories I was told, stories that people from my extraction, stories that my cousins, my brothers, my sisters were told, lives very, very strongly in their hearts. It is important that people know that the pain of lives that were lost in that war are still fresh. Unfortunately, they would have been forgotten. And we preach for reconciliation. If you know me very well, I am a student, I am a candidate for reconciliation and peacemaking. But when you refuse that olive branch of peace that is sent out to you, then you make it very impossible for peace to reign. You leave people with no other option than to agitate. And that is what has happened. And so I want you that is listening to me, to know very clearly that I am 100% sympathetic with the Nigerian situation. And what is the Nigerian situation? The Nigerian situation is a situation where anarchy reigns. The Nigerian situation is a situation where the citizens live like slaves within their own country. And so it's a situation where the country is blessed and is very rich, but we are ranked as the poorest country in the whole world. So I am sympathetic with that. And I want to see a situation where the people in Nigeria, the citizens in Nigeria, are not afraid when they close their eyes to sleep. I want to see a situation where they travel from one part of the country to the other part of the country without being afraid of being attacked by hoodlums on the highway, without being afraid of being kidnapped. I want to see a Nigeria where the resources are evenly distributed. I want to see a Nigeria where a child from the Niger Delta region of Nigeria does not have to sit on the floor to listen to his or her teacher teach them, while a child in another part of the country is being trained abroad from money that was made from the resources that was obtained from this Niger Delta. That is unacceptable. So that is the kind of Nigeria that I want to see. But more importantly, I am sympathetic, not just sympathetic, but a believer in the Biafran struggle. Because whereby you would not allow a people to exist in peace with the rest of their brothers and sisters in the same country, whereby you continue to marginalize these people, whereby you don't take these people seriously. Just one bridge that connects the west to the east, the Niger Bridge, that is as old as Nigeria itself exists, and you find it difficult to build another bridge across that river, whereby these people who are predominantly businessmen and women, who are traders, who do most of the importing into this country, you will close down the ports that exist within their region. You will shut down the Calabar port. You will shut down the port in Port Harcourt, and you will force these people to clear their goods, to import their goods through the Lagos port. I am sympathetic with these people. I am sympathetic with the people who you allow Fulani herdsmen to invade their villages, kill their women, cut open the tummy of pregnant women and cut up the babies, attack their farms, mete out all manner of wickedness on their people, make it difficult for them to go into the forest and farm, destroy their crops, and when they ask you for protection, you turn your ear the other way, and they have to protect themselves. And when they decide to protect themselves after they have consistently asked you for protection, you send your military against these people and you kill them. You kill unarmed people. I am sympathetic to this group. And if you are not willing to accommodate them, if you are not willing to provide them a means of livelihood, then let them go. Honestly speaking, let them go. You cannot beat a child and prevent that child from crying. That is wickedness. If you don't want that child to cry, then just give that child what the child is crying for. And that is the case of Biafra. And recently, the activities of Nigeria in recent times seems to vindicate now those who are agitating for the independent state of Biafra. And so, that is where I stand. I think that it is important for everyone in Nigeria, every tribe in Nigeria, to come together and have an honest discussion. It is important that we have that honest discussion now. Whatever name you call it, but we must come together and we must reevaluate the state of our union if we are sincere to each other. If we don't do this, then the events that led to the Civil War 50 years ago is staring us in the face. And may God not allow something like that to happen to us. Because if it happens to us, it will look like we do not learn from our mistakes. And somebody who does not learn from his mistakes, you wonder what kind of a human being is that. So, I really, on behalf of Worship Media, want to dedicate today's program to everybody who lost their lives in that unfortunate war. From both sides, from the Nigerian side and from the Biafran side. Because that war was highly preventable. Had the people that were supposed to do what they were supposed to do done what they were supposed to do, that war would not have happened. But because that war happened, people lost lives, especially the people of Biafra. So we dedicate our program today, our broadcast today, to all the lives that were lost. We dedicate our broadcast today to everyone who is living now, who lost a father, a mother, an uncle, an aunt, a cousin, a nephew, an in-law in that unfortunate war. And we say, Ozemezna, Ozemezna, Ozemezna. May it never be our portion again. That war is a war, like I said, that was highly preventable. And it is our prayer that those right now within the country called Nigeria who are still engaged in activities that is capable of bringing us to where we were before that civil war was fought, that God will help us to scatter their plans, that God will help us to scatter whatever it is that they are doing, their foolishness that is sliding Nigeria to that place that we were before that civil war was fought, that God should just scatter their plans, and that God should restore power back to the citizens of the country called Nigeria. And that for those agitating for the independent state of Biafra through the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, that God will grant them wisdom to be able to go about this agitation, and that at the end, that God's will be done, both for the people of Biafra, for the Oduduwa people, for the Arewa people, because the truth is that the concept of one Nigeria as it was designed is not working. It is time that we have a concept that is derived by the people of Nigeria themselves. And that is why it is important that we take our country back for us. Thank you so much. My name is Dr. Chidi Cadet Nwanyanwu. I thank you for listening to this broadcast. God bless us all.